jours, elle me dit, tous les jours, elle me regarde, tous les jours, elle me sort. La semaine prochaine. Alors, la vie, c'est mauvais. Alors, je suis touché. Alors, la vie, c'est mauvais. Alors, vraiment, je suis touché. Il y en a qui s'amusent avec les sentiments des autres. Et le moment venu, ils vont se réfugier dans certains camps, des camps spécialisés. Et puis après, il n'y a plus moyen. Laissez les enfants bouger, bouger, bouger. Laissez-les sauter. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Mais laissez-les chanter. Aïe, aïe, aïe. Chanter. Tout ça, c'est bon. C'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon,
Hi guys, welcome. Thank you guys for being on time. Oh, I'm sure this music a bit because I did took you down memory lane for those of us, because I saw my childhood friend join Dr. Corinne Gouffort. Remember how we used to dance ballet in Yaoundé? Oh, it's so good to see you all. Thank you. Welcome Momo, welcome Corinne, welcome Mag, welcome Cindy, welcome Momo. Welcome, Jumbeleke, Ile Aben, Koli. Thank you guys. My regulars are here on time. I appreciate you guys. You know that. Thank you for always being on time. And thank you for your continuous support. So I'm going to leave you with Because Sade for another minute while our numbers pick up. So please, you know what to do. Just share so others can join us. So we continue on to part 2 of the mental health series that we started last week, Wednesday. Is it last week? No, 2 days ago. Hey, I need to get my mind right. So that we started 2 days ago on Wednesday. So please share. And thank you very much. See you in a minute.
Mes sœurs, citez-moi un certain nombre de réfugiés. On y va. Les assurances, les banquiers, les avocats, les médecins, les pétroliers, les PDG et tous les passants. En tout cas, les autres se connaissent. Et c'est toujours comme ça, n'est-ce pas? Oui, c'est toujours comme ça. Allah wallahi.
Hey, I hope you guys are dancing wherever you are. Yay, thank you, Beko Sade. That was Beko Sade. Les souvenirs de mon enfance. Oh, that took me way back. Thank you very much to our guest who's backstage for suggesting we play some Beko Sade today. That was really good. Welcome, Helen, joining us from Congo. Welcome, Maggie from the States. Tessie, yay. Miss Bell, your brother is here. Thank you for joining. I hope you have shared. So thank you, guys. So we're just going to go straight into it. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome to the Woman Experience with Goretti. And what we do on the Woman Experience every Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. British Summer Time is we try to have a conversation around the issues that affect the woman. sometimes we have our male guests who join us, who try so that we try and see. So we try to solve a woman's issue via a man's lens. And because a lot of the times as women, we're forever talking, we're forever sharing our experiences generally. And so we are the talkers of the two sexes, but we can only do so much. But if we don't really truly understand it from the man's point of view, I think that we also sometimes could just be dancing off the path or walking off the path or singing off tune. So this is the reason why we created this platform, the Woman Experiences, for us women, just to share our experiences, and we welcome all the men that join us every Wednesdays and Fridays. We appreciate your contribution. And for those who are new here, it's a very, very, very interactive community. So I'm the host, and then we have our main guest who's going to be joining us shortly, and then you guys are the second guest. And so we leave it all in the comments, all our questions, all our frustrations, all our thoughts, all our experiences, whatever it is we want to share. We leave it in the comments, but our comments section is judgment free. Excuse me, it's judgment free. We keep it positive here. We try and keep it positive because the main aim is to learn through each other's lenses, which is others' experiences. So that's it. This is episode 2 of the mental health series. For those of you who didn't get a chance to watch last week's our first guest on Wednesday was a cognitive psychologist, Mr. D.A. Tani, and he did a fantastic job. I'm sure you all agree with me. If you agree with me, let me see in the comments. He did a fantastic job educating us on how these negative thoughts are started in the mind and the sensations that we feel, and how it may eventually result into something as tragic and traumatic as we saw recently in the United States, where there was a murder-suicide by one of ours. And so we have taken those lessons. If you haven't seen it, after this show, make sure you go back and watch it. What we're doing, we're taking it a step further, and our guest of tonight is going to explain what those, so the emotions that Mr. Tanya explained on Wednesday, is going to put them into situations so that we can recognize them in our partners, we can recognize them in our sons, we can recognize them in our brothers, and be able to tackle or address them or deal with them so that they do not explode or escalate into something that could easily have been prevented if we knew what it was. So that is the reason for this conversation. This is why I decided to do it that way. After we listen to the expert, then we listen to the layman. And obviously my guest is ready, pumped. I just want to say this. We are not defending the men, sisters. I hope you're hearing me. What we're trying to do is understand why certain behaviors occur and how we can prevent those situations from reoccurring, or how we can help our loved ones deal with it. And also maybe we can signpost him to the right help. So we are not here to defend the man, neither are we here to bash the woman. We're here to have a conversation so we can learn. So without further ado, I'm bringing my African Renaissance man, Mr. Cyril Nambangi, to the stream. Hi, Cyril.
Hello. Hey, how are you, Goretti? How's everybody doing? First of all, honestly, I want to really say shout out to your regulars. I'm always very impressed because they show up on time, and that is commendable. I like it.
Yes, oh my, they have taught me how to be on time. I'm learning to be on time in my personal life because of how, honestly, it's been a learning experience for me, and I'm really, really grateful for them all. So thank you for honoring our invitation. And for those who have seen the flyer, obviously you know that it wasn't Cyril saved the day, literally, because our guest was meant to be Mr. Omar Bayen. Unfortunately for us, he is bereaved. He lost his beloved mother literally on Wednesday. Was that Wednesday? On Wednesday.
Day after his birthday, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine that, yeah.
And so
that's a tough one right there.
Yes, yeah. And
he has to now remember his birthday together with Yeah.
Every person who loves their mother, that would be a nightmare for every one of us, who, especially for Omar, who is such we all call him a mommy's boy. So
the mommy's boy, we know that. Yeah.
Our thoughts, our prayers, and our love is with you and with your family, Omar. We're thinking of the Bayan family at this time. And again, thank you, Cyril, for saving the day. You're a real trooper. Appreciate you for that. So we're just going to dive straight into it, Cyril. Welcome to all those who are just joining. King Again Diaz, Shume Patience, Clarice, Duke Shakespearean, Collie. Welcome, guys. Welcome. So let's dive straight into it. Cyril, who is Cyril Nambangi?
Oh, that is it's a good and vague question, but I like to keep it simple. So basically, I will say Cyril Nambangi is just it's a simple, shy guy on the outside. Some people think I may be talkative, but I'm very reserved, conservative, shy. And I like to refer to myself as a traditionalist and an eternal student in the University of Life. That is who Cyril Nambangi is. So every day is a learning process for me. So I'm still growing. That's why I am, eternal student.
Oh, I can relate to that. I'm an eternal student of life myself. So I love that about that you said. So your Facebook page calls you Mr. Ndoko Sankara. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you did.
What's the inspiration behind that name? I recognize Sankara.
The name. So Ndoko is my name.
Okay.
At this point at this stage in my life, I would not like to say that is my country name or that is my traditional name. It is my name. Ndoko is my name.
Yeah.
If there's any borrowed name in my entire being, the borrowed one is Cyril. That's not, So I prefer to be called Ndoko than Cyril. And then of course Sankara is like my greatest idol of all time. That is one individual who encompasses all the ideals of an African, a real African man in everything that he did. So if there's anyone who is not familiar with Thomas Sankara, I will implore you to please take your time and just research a little bit. And I wanted to suggest to you already also that Thomas Sankara is a topic that should be presented in your women's experience, honestly, because of his ideal as a real African man and his outlook and respect he had for womanhood and how much he did in his time as president of Burkina Faso for the women folk to elevate the women in his country and also create equality. All of us talking now, 30 years after his death, also the movements, feminism, gender equality, all those people, Sankara did all of that. But he never had those names for those things. He just knew that this is what a traditional African structure is supposed to be. The woman alongside the man on an equal playing field. No one is superior, no one is inferior, side by side. So I respect him so much, and his ideals for Africa are the same that I have also. So that is the inspiration behind the name Sankara.
Oh, Colin, he's one of my heroes. Have you got me on another device?
No, not yet, not at all.
Guys, can you tell me if it's echoing? Because I can hear it echoing from his end. So Colin is saying he's one of my heroes too. That's great. I just wanted
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Colin.
So you talked about you and Sankara share similar ideals. Can you give me exactly an example of what those ideals are?
Okay, so contrary to popular opinion, like I can refer to myself as a traditionalist. That means a lot about I have taken the time to study African cultures, African civilizations before the foreigners started invading the land and bringing in everything that they brought in, and try to convince us, and unfortunately succeeding to put us in this predicament that we are in now, whether be it in continental Africa or out here somewhere in the diaspora. These are all the doings of other people, not us. So the traditional African way of life existed prior to all of this. It was a it was a community, it was a society of what I call communality. We are all our brothers keepers. So we look out for each other. In a system, you do not need to be a relative of someone to be able to take care of them or fight for their rights, defend them, and all those type of ideals. So that is what Africa was. It does not mean that it was some sort of a Ethiopia with no conflict, internal conflict. Or, well, of course, every society has those problems, but we had ways of resolving all of them by ourselves. So I think we lost our way as Africans, and so now what we're doing daily is struggling to find back ourselves, which I'm sure we never will at the rate we are going and at the rate that foreign influences keep coming in and trying to reshape our thinking and our ideas. So for me, I feel like finding ourselves will be key to get Africa back on its track as the leader of the world.
All right, thank you. Sorry, can you get the echo? Can you guys hear the echo? Because it's really loud.
I feel like I'm getting it from your side, though.
I'm trying to switch off everything, but I don't know. That's weird. Anyway, it's gone now. So, wow, we have a few people who agree with you. Judith says Sankara is one of the most revered African heroes of all time. But he says he's just like me. 95% of my friends and classmates don't know my first name. So they know you as Bate. What's your first name? I'm a traditionalist as well, Sankara. Okay, good.
Thank you.
I'm glad you've got like minds in the audience. That's great. So Cyril, you are a traditionalist, as you call yourself, a traditionalist living in the Western world, in America, to be precise. How do you balance that, the traditionalist and the modernity in which you find yourself? How do you balance that as the African man that you are?
Okay, so a few things to first put in place. Basically, some people may have a misconception of what being a traditionalist is. It's in principles. Okay. It is in principles and basically your outlook of the world. So it does not mean, I'm sure there's someone somewhere right now picturing, this guy must love living in trees and wearing leaves around his waist or something. No, that is not it. It's in principle. And I believe that our traditional African systems have the answer to each and every one of our so-called modern society problems right now. If all we have to do is, if we know them, we can apply to our daily existence and you will resolve a lot of issues. And I'm sure we're going to have an opportunity down the line for me to break down for you any issue you throw at me, and I probably will be able to give you a traditional way of resolving it.
Okay. Look. Yenny says Sankara was the first one I had a crush on. I can relate, girl. Very, 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 very well to that. So you said that. Wait, what I want to ask is this: what is your perception of? So take yourself out of this. What is your perception of the African man in the Western world, and how does it differ to you from the African man back in Africa?
Okay, the African man in the Western world, to me, and of course I'm going to add to this, it's not just a man, the woman too. The African in the Western world, to me, it's all of these things, and I'm going to list them out. Warrior, conqueror. Should I go on? Yeah. I consider the African in the Western world as a warrior, a conqueror, a tough human being with a lot of power and conviction in their abilities to do so much more. So we step into a strange environment, strange in all the ways you may think about, because especially it's a different culture. So it always goes back to culture. If we're stepping into the Western world, it's a total different culture. The Africans in Asia is a total different culture. If me and an African who's been living in Asia for the last 20 years meet right now, there's going to be a difference because we've spent a lot of time in some other people's cultures, right? But we always find a way to triumph at the end of the day. So we go into all those lands and basically conquer them. We may not recognize the fact that we are conquerors because we believe only the Europeans and the Asians were the conquerors who came and conquered other lands. It's the same thing we're doing right now. I mean, without the guns and the spears and the cannons or anything, but that is what we do because we walk into these places and whatever their culture is or their language, we learn it, we speak it with them directly.
Yes.
And we survive in those places. There could be racism, discrimination, all kinds of whatever nonsense, especially what is happening with the young African girls in the Middle East right now, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, all those places. We still survive. So I think that the African in the diaspora is a phenomenon. And we're all multilingual, by the way. We're all totally multilingual, but unfortunately, we do not big up ourselves for the fact that each and every one of us African can speak 5, 4, or 6 languages fluently. We do not even think that is an achievement. We sit back and you want to walk around and you happen to see a white man eating achu, and we all share that video screaming, "Oh my God, look at this. We're here, we know we make lasagna more than the Italians. Hamburgers or whatever." We came in, we learned those things, and we even do it better than them and speak the languages too. But we just have this tendency of not recognizing our own achievements as something worthy of talking about. So that is mental. It's a mind thing. So we're gonna get into all of that too.
We're definitely getting into all of that. So I like what you're saying there, that we have this mentality of not recognizing our own achievements. You're saying that, and I'm thinking it's true. Some of us can speak, I mean, from Japan to even Libya, we learn, we just adopt, we learn the language, we learn the culture, we find a way to adapt to whatever it is.
Exist in that society and survive.
And a lot of the times excel. So honestly, guys, thinking about it, we really should give ourselves a round of applause, you know, because it is no easy feat learning all these strange languages and cultures and just finding your place in them and turning a blind eye to the racism and all the other isms that come with it. So
we should stop sharing that video of that white girl speaking 3 words in pidgin. We should stop sharing that video, making it viral, acting like that is the greatest thing we've ever seen. We do it daily. They do not share us speaking whatever it is, Japanese, Chinese, Cantonese, English, French, Italian, German, Spanish. They do not share us speaking those languages. Those are not our languages. Who is there for us? Nobody. Who promotes us? Nobody. So we only have to be doing that ourselves to be able to even want to think about being on the same field with these people.
Which is what Mabi Abuna is saying right here. It's also because we don't know how to support each other. And so when we are achieving all those things, we don't share because, or do you agree or not with what she said?
We know how to support. I will not say each other. So I agree with each other part. We do know how to support. And if we choose to support, you actually see us going overboard with the level of support we're giving for the person we choose to support. Now, when it comes to each other, unfortunately, that is where we have very unhealthy habits of a very unhealthy internal competition. But you don't even know why you're competing with someone else. The two of you may not even be in the same field professionally at all, or even thinking about the same line of business you want to do. But for some reason, as soon as the one African sees the other, automatically that competition comes in place for no reason.
Let's stay with that competition, because all of this is part of our mindset and eventually our mental health crisis or whatever development. Where do you think that story we have, or that attitude we have of not supporting each other, where do you think that was nurtured?
I will really be bold enough to put my finger on the fact that a lot of this came about once we started opening our doors to foreigners to come in and cohabit with us, and in one way or another influence our ways of life. I would think that is where a lot of this came from, because from those cohabitations, from those interactions with the foreigners, they had agendas, all of them, be the missionaries. The missionaries, as a matter of fact, were mercenaries for their governments. We just did not know that until you study, then you find out, oh, this guy was really not about saving my soul. He was a mercenary for his government, going to scout the lands and decide where is beautiful enough or rich enough for his people to come in and take everything. So when they came and they saw all of this beauty, the abundance of their natural resources, one way of dealing with that is divide and rule. So I would put a lot of this blame of our internal competitions to divide and rule. So they knew that we had harmony, we had togetherness, we had that spirit of we are one. You know, your neighbor is as important as you. That's why, remember, in the village settings, I grew up in a village. So in the village settings, we take turns. Today is your compound or your farm that the entire village is coming to clear and do the planting of the crop for you. It does not mean you are handicapped or anything. That is just how it goes. What you do is, you know, tomorrow is your day. You prepare the food and the drinks and everything, and then the entire village comes and helps you raise your crops. That is how the African tradition has always been. Now, how can a foreigner come into this type of atmosphere where these people have so much brotherhood, so much love for each other? How can they successfully take what is in the land? How can they do that? They had to turn us against each other. So that is what it is. So divide and rule is the key. And they did it on such simplistic basics that we will not even believe. It was so simplistic in the term like, look at Ndoko over there. He's so dark. You see you, just the fact that you're a little bit lighter complexion, you're better than him. That is divide and rule. And to reward you, they give you some sort of title in their rulership, in the way they rule in that society or whatever. And all of a sudden you start feeling like, truly I am better than him. You know, same thing with the slaves, with the enslaved Africans, same thing. It was like, there's the ones that are in the house, there are the ones that are in the field. So the ones in the house were told over and over, you are better. That's why you're in the house. You know, you sit here with me, together. Those ones, they're toiling in the sun daily. You're better. So if we need to make decisions, we will take you into consideration before that. That is divide and rule. That's how all of these competitions came about amongst us.
Okay, I get that. And I'm sure a lot of us, especially anybody who is the least bit enlightened, knows that that is how they were able to separate Africa. And over the years, we are finding it difficult to leave that mindset. But then you and I and a lot of us who are watching, we know that now. Yes. We know that this is what they did. This is how they separated us. And then we come into the white man's land. Why is it so difficult with that understanding of this is what they did to separate us? This is an opportunity for us here. We come here, we see communities like the Asian communities, like Asians, we see what they are building, what they have built over the years by sticking together. Why is it so hard for us? And I'm asking this to the audience. Why do you think it is so hard for us that with the knowledge that we know that divide and rule has been detrimental to our community building, why is it so hard for us to reverse that and copy the successful communities that have literally stepped away from that and have found a way to build together? Why is that so hard for the Cameroonian? I don't know about the rest of Africa, but why is that so hard for the Cameroonian?
I would like someone in the audience to chime in to give a little of something, you know, that they can add to that. Because me personally, I would say that it has a lot to do with the fact that we have lost our way. We lost our way a long time ago. Now, you say me and you, we know that. We know what happened. But if I should ask you, what is the percentage of Africans who know that, who are aware of that information? I'm not sure we can say 60%. So if it's not up to 60%, then it means we still have that long way to go to get these other people to be on that same platform with the rest of us, to realize that we've been lied to, we've been used, abused, misrepresented, everything. So until we are there, Yes, Tessie, please, Tessie, talk away. Talk. Yes.
Talk. We need you to
Yes.
talk. Dr. Fred is
Because
saying,
honestly, yes.
yeah. I don't know. I may have missed his comment earlier, but Dr. Fred is
Okay,
saying so because if we were inherently superior mentally, then we would not have allowed ourselves to be tricked. Okay, I'm sure he said something earlier, so I'm going to try and read that. Mabi said it has been ingrained in our makeup. It can't be reversed. It can't be reversed over time. It can. I'm sure you're trying to say it can, right, Mabi? It can be reversed over time. Conversations like this will enlighten us and hopefully get us to change and think differently. Yeah, and
okay, let me respond to Fred.
Okay.
Fred, as I know, Fred said something about if we were superior mentally, we would have not allowed
ourselves
to happen, to be tricked, right? So one thing I would like to say about that is some people may not be familiar with this, but let's take a look. Let's take an example of the situation with most of us are from Cameroon, so we know the French French oil company called ELF, ELF.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably more than 10 years ago or 15 years ago, maybe, I do not remember the date, the former CEO for ELF, president of ELF, whatever it was, a Frenchman, when he retired, he decided to write a book to tell all about their dealings in Africa. In his book, he mentioned that the way they succeed to get into most of those Francophone African countries and get the best deals for zero to nothing. They do not pay back for whatever oil they come and drill and all of that, is simply because they approach the leader of the country himself directly. So they go to Mr. President and they say something like this. If anyone would like to challenge on this later, I can definitely pull up the information. So, but they go to the leader himself personally and say something like this. Of course, there's competition for drilling. There's ELF, there's Texaco, there's BP. All of them are in Africa trying to get a piece of the oil. So ELF talks to Mr. President and says, this is what we're gonna do. Forget everything, but if you let us get the drilling rights for your oil, we guarantee you this, you personally, Mr. President, not your country. For every barrel of oil we drill from your land, you personally get 5% of the proceeds from that 1 barrel of oil. Right now, I do not know the price of a barrel of oil, but think about it this way. In a country like Nigeria, they drill over 100,000 barrels of oil per day. Imagine that the president of that country gets 5% from each one of those 100,000 barrels of oil. That is a deal. You have to be the strongest human being in the world. You have to have the mental fortitude of a rock to sit back and resist that temptation. Yeah. See how, imagine you can snap your finger one time and there's 10 million already in the bank just from one day of drilling. For you personally, that's how it starts, and before you know it, you start pushing away the people's interests, and now you're thinking about yourself. So it's a me thing now. And unfortunately, to me, this is where a lot of Africans are right now. Even in our professional fields, we're thinking about ourselves, not the community or the environment again.
Oh, I see. I see. So, okay. Guys, can you guys get that echo? Because it's really echoing. It's not from my end.
That echo is from the UK.
Certainly not. It's really loud. But let me say this, and I'm going to read some people's comments before I say what I wanted to say. So a lot of people are saying we've been brainwashed. That's from Quinta. We lack trust, and I say we lack trust for each other because of too much betrayal, which we'll come to. Mabi is saying ingrained in our makeup. Say again, she's reiterating that it's now part of our genetic makeup, and I think I read that already. Judith is saying, I think it is so deeply ingrained in us. So she's saying the same thing that Mabi is saying. We don't stop to reflect. Maria Banga is saying, when you get the awareness, you now start the work to reverse the paradigm shift, especially with the younger generation. Shanti is saying, we need to have more confidence to be more and do more. Many think they are not good enough, and that. So all of this. So we are all saying that, again, thank you for all those who are just joining us. This is the Woman Experience, and we're on part 2 of our mental health conversation and trying to address mental health within the Cameroonian community. You may be asking yourself, Goretti, what has this conversation got to do with mental health? I think personally that it has a lot to do, because if we do not understand the different ideologies, mindsets that we hold, attitudes, because what you think becomes an attitude. If we do not understand all these things that we hold, we would be surprised at reactions that we find ourselves in, or we find ourselves taking. So if we do not understand that, hold on a minute, why don't I trust a fellow Cameroonian? Why is it that if Cyril presents a business opportunity to me, my first thing is no. But if, say, a Kenyan brings it to me, or a Brazilian brings it to me, I'll have more respect for it. All of those little things are all part of our mental states, for lack of a better word. There are a lot of the things that we process that makes us do the things that we do, or make the decisions that we make. So I'm trying to understand it from this point. The challenges, again, on Wednesday we talked about the emotions that we feel, but I'm trying to force through Cyril and you guys to get those things that we do, or those things that we hold in our minds, that affect or that bring about those emotions. So I hope I'm I hope I'm clear enough. Am I, Cyril?
You are clear. You are clear.
So this is why we are having these conversations around those things. So thank you guys for obviously for contributing. I know we'll carry on. So Cyril, let me finish reading this one. Women need to use their own hair. Hey. Self-pride is next to nil. Fake looks everywhere. Yes, Angel. Every now and then, Again, why are you gonna? We'll come to that conversation, but you guys say that obviously underneath this, I'm a nappy. I've not put relaxer in my hair for like 7 years. But saying that, why do you criticize us for being versatile with our hair? Our hair can do all kinds of styles, carry every style under the sun. Where our hair is designed like that. I know that the white man has this naturally, but can't go nappy, probably can't always do dreadlocks the way we do, but like we can do these things. So what's wrong with using it to express ourselves if underneath we do keep the natural hair and we do not relax it? I don't know. We'll have that conversation another time. I don't want to hear what you have to say for now.
Yeah.
Jenny says, I think it's generational and historical issue. We receive material wealth from the Western world in exchange to enslave ourselves physically and mentally. We started long ago to admire material wealth and it was passed down. So technology needs to spread more in Africa to make ourselves independent from the West. Okay. Patrick says, talking of superiority or inferiority is anti-African. African sociological matrix is about functionality and unity with nature. Functionality in the family with roles, father, mother, children, and not superiority. Functionality in the community with leaders, with roles, Quifon, Gueron, etc., and not brutal leaders. Superiority and inferiority was first brought forth by a twisted thought, Charles Darwin, in The Evolution of Species. Right. That's okay. Explain in words that I can understand, please.
Correct. I like Patrick's thinking, and that's very important to notice. And so that's why I have my stance as being a traditionalist, because I know that there is no way some of these things that they put in books about us are real. I mean, we all have lineages that we come from. My argument for a lot of things that I do not support today or I do not promote today is simply because I should have seen it somewhere in my growing up process. I mean, my parents were there, my grandparents were there, and before them, their own grandparents were there too. So it's a line. If there was something that did not cross that line for us to come to me as part of my upbringing, there has to be something wrong with it. Unfortunately, Africans right now, we keep thinking we know so much. I even see some people argue that they are better than their ancestors before them because they have this Western education. So they think that they know more than what their ancestors used to know. My thing is, if it was a part of the culture, a part of the system, it should have been taught to us also growing up. If it wasn't, to me, I recognize it as someone is bringing a new concept to me, and you cannot
Cyril,
teach me nothing new at this age.
Cyril, name that thing that you're refusing to name. Say it.
There's a lot of things I do not support, a lot of things I do not promote, a lot of things I do not support. So now I'll tell you, I always think about the situation. This is going to be controversial because it's happening, and funny enough, based on what I just said, it's part of a lot of our society still maintain that, but I don't know what is so crazy about why we have this situation. So I'm contradicting myself because these are two separate things, right? But I will maintain this one. I do not understand why we are still enforcing or still looking into this thing of forced marriages, child brides that I see in certain societies. It's funny, they have that, they've always had that, but like all of these things that we're talking about, our education right now and being emancipated and knowing more than our ancestors, I do not understand how come those are still in play in the communities that they are in play right now. The child brides, forced marriages, and the most taboo of them all, female genital mutilation, is still happening. I don't understand why they are there. So, but on the other side, if I want to stand up right now and say I have an issue with the way that the West is promoting this homosexuality thing, boom, it's Africans that fall on my head to tell me, oh, there was something like that already in your own communities, even before the white men came there. You know, so we fight the fight on two sides, but we're not choosing the ones that we need to be focusing on to go eradicate first.
Stay with that.
Okay.
Because this brings me to my next question. Where do we find the balance as the African? Where is the melting point? Because you've just explained two very contradictory situations that you frown upon, being an African what's the word you call yourself?
Traditionalist.
A traditionalist. Being the traditionalist. You've just talked about a culture that predates us even,
Yes.
child brides, child marriage. Although I don't know how true that is, because I understand that a lot of it was brought from the Arab world. But anyway, that's a conversation.
But even that, talking about Arab world, is more than 500 years old still, you see?
Yeah.
So that's how far back it goes. So we can also claim that that's been us for a long time, because 500 years is a long time.
Okay, so Cyril, this is you, a traditionalist in the Western world, with all these ideals and challenges, because a lot of it is what's the word I'm looking for? Self challenges. Guys, stay with me. And for some reason, my brain is playing, is acting up. I have no idea why, but I'm getting to my point. So all of this is personal, right? It's internal struggles. It's personal internal struggles. This trying to adapt your traditional view on life to the Western world. How are the people around you? How do the people around you, right, who are just normal Africans trying to survive, how do they relate to you with those views that you hold?
Okay, you just put in a very key statement in what you said, trying to survive.
Yeah.
This trying to survive has turned so many millions of natural lions and lionesses into little puppies trying to survive. So a lot of people hold the same ideals that someone like myself, considered a traditionalist, would hold on a lot of other things, a lot of aspects in the Western world. But because they're trying to survive, they bottle up everything. In the public, they actually act like, oh no, I'm down with that. You see, because they're trying to survive. They know that the day they choose to be vocal, and it's funny because I always advise everybody, like, it doesn't mean the day you are vocal about this will be the end of you. And the truth is, you have to be smart enough to play the game right. We came here as warriors and conquerors to survive in these places and excel. So you have to play the game however it is played. If you're working in corporate, you're already smart. The book, their guidelines say, do not have this conversation in the office. Do not have this other conversation in the office. And this one also. You will be silly to go sit in that office with these foreigners and try to have those conversations. That's wisdom supposed to tell you you don't need to do that. So I feel like a lot of people sell themselves short because they're trying to survive. They just jump into everything happy, putting, there's some African smile, some sheepish smile that everybody just has. Yeah, yeah. That's the average African on a daily basis in this Western world. But you have your own household, you have your family, you have your own immediate community. These are the people you are supposed to care about the most. The ones you are raising, in particular, the little ones. Those are the people you care about the most. You have to instill in them the principles and the ideals that you hold dear to you while you're trying to survive. But a lot of us, we don't do that because we're trying to survive. We go ahead and tell even the kids, that's okay, that's fine, this is okay, that's fine, just because you're trying to survive.
Cyril.
Yes.
You are an African trying to survive. And so you know that you have to put on the fake smile to survive in the Western world. And then, or you are the African woman who knows that I do not agree with these things, but I have to put on this fake smile and literally put on this mask every day to go to face the things that I do not agree with. And then when you come home, you take off that mask and then you have to be you in whatever new normal that you is.
Oh, excuse me 1 second, okay? Give me 1 quick second.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take you on.
Okay.
So, I don't know what that echo is. So he was right. It's coming from me. So
I told you that echo was from you, you see.
causing that echo? I have no idea.
I think maybe we're just doing so well, the system just decides to be sounding twice just to make it even magnified.
Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me? Because they said they can't hear me. Something's wrong with the sound.
Can you guys hear me?
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. So they say it's fine now. So the question I was asking guys is, these different masks that we wear every day, because all of these play with our mental health. All of these have a lot to play with our mental health. These different masks that we wear every day, we wear a mask to go out there for work purposes, for whatever it is we're trying to achieve and excel in this world. We wear that mask to go. And then we come home, especially if you're raising children, you come home, you have your own set of morals and values that you were raised with, that you came to the West with, and you find yourself having to raise children to kind of straddle both. You understand? To straddle both, to straddle that which you do not agree with, and then you find ways to impart them on them the cultures that, and the moral values that you believe in. How hard is that as a parent? Or is it something that you don't even think about? Does it affect you in any way? Do you sometimes think about this? I'm asking the audience as well. Is this something that we even consider, or we just, or it's become so, we've just normalized it that we are really managing those two worlds very, very, very well? Cyril.
I know it is hard for some, but I would like to say it is not supposed to be hard. You know, the key to all of this is knowing yourself, knowing who you are. There are communities, if you watch them in all these societies that we are in the Western world, see how they operate, how they behave. They know their self-worth. That's the difference. So they do not go about with their heads down or downcasted or thinking they're trying to survive. They walk around knowing their worth and the head is high, and they do not care if you have to operate or do anything with them. You will be coming at them or at an equal playing field. It does not matter that you have maybe the wherewithal to make things happen and they need you for your business to get, yes, they still walk around with the fact that they know who they are. A lot of Africans, the problem we have is we do not just believe that we are equal to everyone else. So we face a more of an issue in this trying to make the balance between after you come home from work and then inside your house. So we have a more difficult time trying to make that balance just because of our mindset. But if you had already been instilling in this, your offsprings and your family and your immediate community self-worth, then you will know how to navigate these streets even better. One thing I wanted to say is, personally, I do not wear any mask anymore because I have grown. Mentally, I have grown to a point where I know that if you want to deal with me, you got to come at me directly. Meet me at the same level. It does not matter if you are the CEO and I am the one seeking employment. I send you my resume, you look at it. If you call me for an interview, that already means you've seen enough of what you're looking for in my resume. So I cannot be coming in there to that job still like, oh man, I don't know. Like I doubt myself. You've already seen it. There's probably 100 other individuals who apply for the same thing, but you choose to call me. So that means already that I need to sit there and look at you in the face while we talk because you need me. You've already made that decision that you need me, just like how I made the job too. Yeah, so it's a mind thing.
Shanti is saying it's know what you're made of and what you can achieve, confidence, right? And
exactly.
I'm saying it's important to educate children on a variety of cultures. Children need to be aware of societal diversity as they grow.
True.
They should be a fine line. Hold on, I'll come to that. And Judith is saying what I'm thinking. I think as Africans, our biggest problem is trying to fit in with the Western culture and trying to
exactly.
Okay, before you say, this is I'm going to ask you this question. I'm asking you, everyone,
okay.
This. Do you agree or do you know that you're equal to the white man? Do you know that deep down that you are equal to the white man? A white man, basically, I'm just going to put that. Do you know you're equal to the white man? Do you believe that in your everyday interactions, in your everyday life? Do you believe that? And if you do not believe that, and if you have some issues with that, try and take a minute and dig deep. Where does that come from? Why do you feel that discomfort? Why do you feel that inequality? Where did that come from? Where does that notion of yourself not being equal to the white man, where did it come from? Cyril, you are, of course, you found yourself when you felt Bush, when you felt
okay. This is a good one. Question is, where does it come from? Okay. We're going to go back to the origin of our interactions. As Africans, we were exactly what we were. Growing up in our places, we had our own systems of everything that we did until, let's say, we go now into the time of colonization and the slave trade. The whole point of this system of the slave trade, prolonging it and keeping the enslaved Africans in check, even without needing to physically be there daily to whip or lynch or kill some of them just so that they obey your laws and toe the line, right? So there were processes put in place just to maintain that. Now I'm going to give you an example which affects all of us. Growing up, we already heard the stories of this stupid German dude called Eugene Zingraff.
Mm-hmm.
We have stories, we do not know how founded or unfounded they are, about Zingraff in Bafut Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to do the thing where he has the Africans doing the work, whatever he was doing, digging, whatever thing they needed to do for him and his German benefit, right?
Yeah.
So Zingraff, they used to, we use these stories to laugh at ourselves, but we do not realize how heavy they are from a psychological level. So Zingraff, they say, used to do the thing where he takes his glasses. So he takes a nap, but he removes his glasses and puts on the ground facing the workers. And so when they turn around, he's taking a nap, but they see his glasses, which they always see on his eyes, facing them. So the assumption is that he's still looking at us, so keep on walking, do not slack off. So that is a big, big, big psychological conditioning right there. Like you see it, you know, I mean, I don't know if they're trying to tell me Africans did not know that there's something called sleeping before. To see, you can see the guy lying down, but because his glasses are standing, you say, oh, he's watching us. So they walk throughout the evening while he's sleeping. These are stories they used to tell us and laugh and stuff, but that is part of the conditioning. So let me fast forward quickly into the slavery time. It was very profitable to have enslaved Africans doing all the dirty work for the rich white folks. Remember, it's not every white person that owned slaves. Most of them worked for the rich 1% white people that owned the slaves anyway. So to keep you in a subservient position, they had to totally clean you of your identity. The identity was key. They had to wipe everything from you. So in that way, you just follow and believe in whatever they tell you that you are. So number one, as enslaved Africans, they took away the language. They took away your culture. They will beat slaves who were dancing or playing the drums because there's power, there's spiritual power in those things. They used to communicate with the drums in the slave plantations. So they take away your language, your culture, your name. They take away the name. They also take away your whatever thing you will call religion. They took it away and imposed theirs on you, just same way they imposed their names on us back then. So that's ownership. So they're not only owning you physically, they're owning your mind, which means if they twist it like this, it's gonna bend in that direction. If they twist it like this, it's gonna bend in that direction. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say this, which will offend everybody, but that is why we're having the conversation. After they had succeeded to strip the Africans of their identity in every way, shape, or form, we talk like them, we now started dressing like them, we have the same mannerisms, some people speak Hackney like them, we do all those things. Okay, there was one thing that's still sticking out. Remember back in the days, they used to do the ballroom dances. So they taught the slave women, even after slavery was just abolished, quote unquote, we still would do the thing. We wear the pigtails, tuxedos like them.
We still wear the white beard.
Okay, so we do all of this, and then the women will do the corset, and so that's how the images were of those times. So in every mannerism that you've copied from these white people, one thing was sticking out when we walk around. So they look at us and they see it. So guess what that was? The nappy hair. It could not be tamed. Just like your name, your religion, your culture, your identity, they could tame and take away all of those. The nappy hair still represented your difference. That is an African. It doesn't matter what they do. That's an African, because look at our hair texture. You can do whatever you want with it. Put it in a ponytail, use a rubber band to tie it up. What does it do? It breaks away from your band like, do not try to contain me. I wasn't designed for that. So that was a big issue with these white folks who were looking for complete ownership of our minds. They need to know that if they tell us to jump, we will jump. So what they decided was, this is a big issue. What are we gonna do? We've done everything, but the hair still shows that these people still have an identity they can cling to. Guess who came in to be the savior for white people? Madame C.J. Walker.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because she and a few others invented the hot comb. And right there, from the invention of the hot comb, that was a eureka moment for white folks. Finally, there is a solution to that nappy hair, because the hot comb can make it actually straighten out and slip and be dead like the Caucasian hair. So that was the final stage of the ownership of Black folks. So it's funny, but if you think about it, that is the only reason why she was allowed to be what they call the first Black billionaire or first Black millionaire, is because she did something that benefited them, not benefited us. That's what it was. And you also know that in the 1890s, 1880s, there's no way she could have had a white chauffeur, white butler, and everything if the big people did not allow that. As a Black person, they would have stomped on her in 2 seconds if they wanted to. They did it all over the place. There was prominent Black societies like what we call Black Wall Street. They bombed that thing in 2 seconds when they saw Black people who were being prominent. So we're talking this one much. Okay.
Hold that thought, Cyril. Let's talk about hair, because ladies, and I'm guilty today. I'm whatever. This is fake hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you? We again. I come to that point. We know that. We know these things. We know that our nappy hair was one of the last things that was eroded from us to make us, because then they came. The white man came and presented us a standard of beauty that we've all been trying to aspire to all these years. The African woman is generally curvy and has a bit of flesh on her bones, but we all want to have a six-pack and be size 0, right? Which is, and have hair like, I don't know, Gwyneth Paltrow, which is not natural. We know these things, but look at me today. I have fake hair on. So what I'm saying is, how is it that we know these things? You and I, all the ladies watching me, we know these things. But every day, we still continue to be that which they have. So we still continue to erase our cultures, our identity, by trying to be that.
It's because you say you may think you know it, but maybe you just do not believe in it. So that's what it is.
Very easy to say on Facebook that we should know we are equal to the white man. But the fact is, to execute that in your everyday life in this side of the world, you need to get some self-worth. Recognize the self-worth and believe in your self-worth. Then most things will fall in place. You must not also minimize the power of understanding and knowing the things pertaining to your direction of travel. Without all of the above, we will continue being Facebook celebrities and snails in the real world. Okay, I don't know why you're harsh. But
that was a necessary harsh. That one right there, necessary.
Okay,
if we don't have these conversations, we're not going anywhere.
Exactly. So, but when you're saying that to say on Facebook, is it in regards to the question I asked, or just
it is? It is.
Because the question I'm asking is, we all know this. Well, no, why don't we believe that we are equal to the white man? So I don't know if that's what she's responding to, but anyway, that's
because okay. So the reason I brought in all of the history behind the complete ownership of our minds was to answer the question that, do we believe we are equal to the white man? And I wanted to say, we do not believe that. That is why every day of our lives we keep maintaining the unhealthy practices that we think we need to do in order to even look closely, to fit closely to the criteria that the white people prescribed for us. So we do not believe we are equal to them.
There are quite a few excuses in the, not excuses, but there are quite a few reasons which a lot of us relate to. I have, what did you say? I have my Afro hair. Person, add me for instance. Okay, I don't understand what Angel is saying. I'm not erasing my culture. It's just easier to manage for me sometimes, but I'm a natural nappy sister. Hold on. Hold on. Judith says it's about the challenge of managing this nappy hair. Again, hair that defies gravity. Try explaining that to the white man. Okay, go on. What you were going to say about Adeline and Judith.
Excuses is all we're gonna do. The truth is, if you look, we're on Facebook, you can go right now and start typing for nappy hair groups, right? Nappy groups, like sisters with nappy hair, and they are doing the thing. They have their own communities. They have Facebook groups and pages where they talk about their journey into going back to being natural. The question I want to ask the two ladies and everyone else who always gives that excuse of it's easier to maintain or nappy hair is difficult to maintain. My question is, are you doing anything in life different from those women who have the nappy hair and they're walking up and down the place? Are you working 10 jobs and they're only working 2? Are you, is this all of you carry out the same exact activities on the daily basis? You are moms, you have families, you are everything exact same way. So how come they are able to pull it off and you can't? And then you keep saying the reason is that one is difficult to maintain. How are they maintaining it? What I'm saying is it can be done if you want to do it. So I really dislike hearing excuses like that when it comes to that situation. Because if one person does, it means it actually can be done.
Again, maybe society isn't helping. We are led to believe that if we look a certain way, we are more approachable or marketable or we fit in. And what is this echo? I think the issue of self-confidence is involved. That's what Mimi thinks. And
totally, self-confidence, totally.
Yenny says if we can slap on makeup for about 30 minutes, we can manage our nappy hair.
Thank you, Yenny. Thank you. Thank you.
Mabi again says it's not an excuse. I understand, but refer to my previous comment. Society isn't helping. And Judith,
you are society, Mabi. You are society, so you can make your rules that you want to follow in society, and the rest of society has to accept you for exactly who you present to them. You are society.
So how do you think that? And I'm asking this ones to the audience. All these different things that we hold, what role do they play in our mental health? In the sense, because I feel like with all of these confusions, personal, like internal confusions going on every day in our minds, it must affect us mentally somehow.
Confusion and conviction. Being convinced that truly by your natural self, you are not beautiful or presentable enough for the outside society is a big issue. And I can give you examples because what I do, the way part of my growth process is to monitor and observe. So I sit in places and I observe. Watch the women with the weaves, especially the one called human hair, the long Brazilian, Peruvian, or whatever it is. Watch them anytime you choose. Few things you will notice every minute is they fidget with it. Because it is like for me, it's a mental preoccupation. The head is telling something has shifted in this perfection that you're trying to portray. Something has shifted. Let's say the wind blows and they look, oh, damn, let me fix it again because my perfection is dwindling based on what's happening. The people with a lot of makeup, if there's some sort of heat, so now it's sweat, oh my God, I am now imperfect. Everything I spent 2 hours in the bathroom for this just to come out looking like this, and now all of a sudden this heat is gonna make me perspire a little bit. I need to fix it. That's a mental preoccupation. It's a big deal, super big deal. We think it's nothing, but it's very big.
Which manifests in things like body, what's that thing? Dysmorphia, what's that word they use?
Dysmorphia or dystrophia, one of them like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dysmorphia, where we are all now, and this is the reason why the gym and trying to look perfect again physically has become such a preoccupation or such a huge part of our lives. It's not because a lot of women are not necessarily, or men as well, are not necessarily exercising for health, but for aesthetics.
Aesthetics, and unfortunately, most of the aesthetics we follow.
I saw some research on that and I wrote it down, but I don't think I included it in these notes. But I did see the research that said a lot of, if you it was done with gyms in the UK. It's a UK based research, and it was said that a lot of the young people who do exercise, who are in the gyms every day, they are not doing exercises because they want to look, because they care about their heart or they care about their health. They are doing it solely or mainly because they want to look good.
Unhealthy aesthetics, by the way, is what they are all chasing. It's what everybody's chasing these days. And then you find the ones that are even at a level that is even worse, that because of their personal conviction in the fact that they do not look good enough by themselves. You can imagine, I'm sure you've seen once or twice, someone actually walking out and sweating, but heavily made up. You see how that can be a big deal right there. Like, they did not even believe, hey, this is my moment of exercise. I can afford to just be myself and sweat this out. No, they still know that, hey, man, you could meet someone in there who looks at you. So if somebody has to look at you, they need to see this perfect face every minute. And so they even go to that gym with makeup on and with the wave on, and now they have to struggle to just do regular stuff. It's a big mental issue. I posted a video one time of this. There's this girl, she does long jump. She's Nigerian. Blessing. She's like one of my favorite. She does the 200 meter, 100 meter in all of this diamond Olympics and stuff. She's amazing. But one time she did a long jump at one of those competitions with a weave on. Okay. And now, so she runs and she did her jump probably 7 feet and the wig came off. So the question is, and then she fell down and now she's embarrassed by that situation. My question is, so you're trying to tell me that even you, as an athlete, you know this is what you do, and you know this is a game of sweating daily for just to pull this off. You're trying to tell me that you just could not even afford to be yourself for this one moment that you need to do your jump. You have to put on this wig to basically make yourself presentable to the world, since that's what we believe.
Cyril.
Yes.
Judith argues this. I don't like her argument. She says, I don't think health is definition of who you're supposed to be. It can also be argued that all Africans should start wearing African traditional wear every day. Why aren't we also doing that? Why is hair so much the sticking point? Maybe we should be proud as well, wearing agbada and kabas on a daily basis while we're at it. But then my argument to that, Judy, with this is not that's not deemed, our outfits are not deemed appropriate for work while we are here. But go on, let me hear what you have to say.
Simple answer for Judy. If you make that assumption about, if we want to talk about this hair, then we also need to think about outfits. Let's wear traditional outfits. It means, number one, that you are assuming that what we wear today is the Western people that came up with that idea. That's number one assumption. And then number two, it's not the same thing about clothing. My shirt does not grow on my skin. Your hair does. So you cannot equate the two. The hair grows out of the roots. It shoots up from your hair by itself. What we're doing with the weaves and the wigs and the straightening and everything is we're covering it up, which means that underneath that wig or weave is your natural hair. It's never going to go away. So you cannot compare the two, because I can take this shirt off in 2 seconds. Yes.
Stay with that thought. Henrietta said something which I think we should really think about. She says right now we are restricting this topic to our subjective views, but we shouldn't restrict this topic to our subjective views, but the communal or societal impact. Inequality has been a serious deterrent in our communal growth as a group of people. We are dealing with globalists who are systematic, calculative, and very determined in ensuring that we remain enslaved as a group of people. We need to start thinking as a collective how we can free ourselves politically, economically, culturally, and socially. We have to be proud of our own and who we are as a group. And so Henrietta, what we're doing here is to create that discord. We are trying to make us ask ourselves those questions. We are not dissing anybody. I hope everyone gets that. We're just trying to make us think, to consciously think about these things, why we do them. Are we doing them for the right reasons? Because sometimes we just get on with it because it is what it is. But let us take a minute and really, really think about why we do those things and how they affect us. Because we can argue all we want about we shouldn't focus on hair, we shouldn't make it subjective. But then when you see the increase in bleaching creams, in the sale of bleaching creams around the world, you know that whatever it is effective, it is working. And so maybe we should start asking ourselves those difficult questions so that we can begin to emancipate ourselves from this, again, in the words of, is it Bob Marley, mental slavery. But go on, Cyril.
I wanted to say, I like what Henrietta said, but the bottom line is we need to have these conversations. Admitting there is an issue is the first way to deal with it. Talking about it is another good way to approach the subject. I want to guarantee you that there are some younger women, teenagers maybe, they grew up watching their mothers do these things. So they're just doing it because they know, that's all they know. They've never probably had this conversation before. The day someone is going to put in their heads that you were conditioned to do these things that you're doing to yourself may actually spark a different kind of light in them to realize that I don't want to be this person's slave. I don't want to be enslaved on this level. So the conversation is very necessary. We know we should be talking about solutions and what to do. But you, Henrietta, right here on this platform, you can already see that all of us participating in this discussion, we are not on the same page when it comes to the topic. So how can we even move forward to talk about solutions?
And Jamila saying the same thing is actually, gosh, I'm sorry, that echo is quite loud. Do you guys hear it, or is it just me?
No, we don't. It's a UK echo from Boris Johnson or whatever his name is.
And those sisters will tell you, so Jamila Tamblin says, and those sisters will tell you that it is time consuming and requires a commitment. Mm-hmm. One is disputing that it can be done. Not everyone has the willpower to commit to that. I do disagree. I will always disagree on the principle that because I wear my natural hair, I have the right to shame another woman for wearing wigs. And again, I think it's getting lost in translation. Maybe it's the way we're saying it, or maybe it's the way we're arguing. We're not shaming. We're not shaming. We're asking. Let's ask ourselves those questions. Why we wear? I'm wearing a wig. You know, I don't feel embarrassed by what he's saying. But some of the things are making sense because you do. Well, I'm not wearing a wig. I'm wearing braids. But you do these things unconsciously because you want to change your look. You think it looks pretty. I'm nappy. I've been nappy for about 7 years. But I never shame people who are not natural. But what Cyril is trying to do, again, I'm saying we're trying to have a conversation like he's reiterated. We're trying to have a conversation so we ask ourselves these difficult and uncomfortable questions. Because we are all, there are so many factors that affect our mental health and the way we carry ourselves in the West. There are so many factors. And even the everyday trying to westernize yourself unconsciously is one of those things that you don't even realize. So we're just trying to have those conversations. And this is you guys remember what we talked about on Wednesday? He was explaining all these negative emotions, how they start, how they are formed. And I'm trying to look at it from what are those everyday things that we do that we don't necessarily think about that may be creating some kind of mental struggle within us. That's it. That's the angle we're trying to look at it today. So I hope that is clear. Ms. Bell says, hair is a multi-billion enterprise. The benefactors are non-Africans and blacks or blacks. The majority of the consumers are Africans and blacks. If we're talking about economic growth for us as a people, we have to talk about hair as well. Yeah.
Tell them that's my sister.
Oh, that's your real sister. Mabi says we're embracing diversity with our hair, right? Mabi, sorry. Judy says if we are going to embrace our African heritage, it shouldn't be limited to hair. Your identity and values should be the defining factors.
Identity, how though? If your presentation of yourself is not who you actually are, how is that? How can we see your identity when we look at you with, say, human hair on? What identity are we looking at in that picture?
Tessie, what you're saying, I really don't know what you guys are saying. Have you forgotten about cocoa soup all of a sudden? It was never a Western thing. It was always a Western thing. Cocoa soup came because we all wanted to whiten our skin to be like the white man's idol. Like these are the effects of colonization, Tessie. So it was always a Western thing if it comes to that. And Mimi says our hair doesn't define us. And I think with that, we move away from hair.
Let's move away from it here because we're gonna go back and forth. And the problem is if we ourselves cannot accept an issue, how are we gonna even try to look for a solution?
Exactly. So let's move away from here. So now let me come now to, I mean, we've taken longer than I thought we would, but I'm going to come now to the conversation that I was going to have. So on Wednesday with Mr. Daniel Tanya, we talked about, again, all these emotions and how they could, how they are triggered and how we feel them physically, or the sensations that we feel as a result of these negative thoughts that sometimes we express through violence or through mental abuse or different forms of abuse. I'm taking you back. I'm taking you now as a man in the Western world, in America. Cyril, sorry, the comments are distracting me. What are some of those things that you face from the society at large that cause you anxiety or pain, that you feel that you cannot talk about it to the next person?
On a personal level, everything I face, definitely I try to talk about it to the next person. But as a man, black man in the Western world right now, we are going through, I mean, it's always been this way, so nothing changed. Maybe it's just a little, nowadays, social media, so we see videos. Everyone has has the opportunity and the ability to be their own little filmmaker in one way or another with our gadgets, technology and gadgets, right? So that's why we see a lot of things that are prevalent, but it's always been there like that. As a black man in the Western world, I know that just going around daily, for some reason, I'm a target for some other people. The people are the ones with the problem. So they have their inferiority complexes. They have all types of little things that make them feel like I am some sort of threat, you know. So going about on a daily, I can say there's a lot of anxiety because if you come face to face with that situation and you have one of these people in front of you with the uniform, maybe the uniform and the gun. Sometimes it's not even uniform, it could just be a random fat white man. If you come face to face with them, you do not know what is going to happen next. So now you try your best to be as calm as possible and try to make sure you're trying to even mentally communicate with them to slow down, also take it easy, because you know that your life, your entire existence is at risk right there in the presence of this individual because of his problems, not yours. You know, so just going around daily, there is this fear you may actually step out and not even come back home. You know, so that is a big deal. It's a big deal because you still have to survive. You still have to do what you need to do. You have to make ends meet. And at the same time, you also have something called manhood. You have your manhood that tells you that you are man enough. You're supposed to be able to defend yourself in the case of any kind of situation. But all of a sudden, you are faced in a society where you are basically strapped and helpless to whatever situation is standing in front of you. So all of a sudden, it's like they've stripped away your manhood because any one of them can just stand in front of you any minute and tell you, lie on the floor, shut up, beat you up, and you cannot do anything. So that is a big deal for a black man in the Western world on the daily. And if you want to talk about anxiety, it's right there because you know there's so much more you can do, but you're not going to do it because you know what will happen if you try just to be a man for a second.
So do you, what do you guys do you have like a community of other men that you guys sit and talk about this kind of issues, or how do you handle this everyday anxiety?
Not everyone has a community of other people that they sit and talk this about, but a lot of people do. You see, like you'll be surprised that now in the last 4 or 5 years, there are groups on social media, WhatsApp groups in particular. So there are men only groups that do exist. And we just sit there and it's just for fun, but we have this type of conversations and it helps with the healing, but there's always fighting in there, just like we just came from a situation of hair and people do not want, we are not all on the same page. So we have those situations, we have these conversations, and there are some brothers who are of the opinion that if you get into an encounter with these white vigilantes or police and it goes bad, it ends up badly for you, it was your fault because all you had to do was to comply and obey. And so it gets frustrating because you're going, come on now, we've seen thousands of examples. The guy is complying, the guy is doing everything even above and beyond, but they still take his life. So how on earth can you say it's what it's also? Yeah, we have this conversation and then it even leads to more frustration and anger because your own brothers seem to want to align with the people in power.
So you have this conversation among Cameroonian men.
Yes. Yes.
So with all these alumni associations, male alumni associations, when
Yes.
you guys meet, do you have a chance to talk about things like this?
Yes, we do. We do in the forums virtually, and then if we meet physically, we still continue these conversations. But like I said, it's not everybody who has the privilege of belonging to one of these groups. You see, so there are people who have all of these bottled up, but they do not have an outlet. They don't even have someone to talk it to. And unfortunately for some of them, they could be in a work environment where they happen to be the only African or the only Black. So they cannot even have this conversation with their colleagues because there will be no interrelationship. There's no understanding of the perspective if you do not live that same existence daily.
Because what we were talking about on Wednesday was the importance of talk therapy, the importance of having communities and having a community where you can talk about your issues, having a mentor, having a therapist, having someone to share these issues with. And I'm glad that you're saying that you guys have things like that. And is that the same, ladies, the men who are watching? Is this becoming more common where we have groups where we just talk about our everyday stress? Is that becoming more common, especially for the men? I would like, if there's any man left watching who can tell us a bit about that or add to Cyril's voice. So Cyril, do you think that having these conversations, does it benefit you with these guys? Because you just said frustration, that sometimes you end up being frustrated, but this is just one issue, maybe police brutality in America, because for the rest of us, it's not so obvious. Discrimination and police brutality, especially in my part of the world. So I don't think it's something that our men face too often. I may be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But apart from that one issue, on other issues, would you say there is a benefit of having these groups where you guys can express yourselves like that?
Okay, one thing I wanted to say though is the fact that even though we can have these conversations in those groups, truly a lot of these gentlemen will hold back when it comes to discussing family issues in their marital homes. They will hold back on those. So unfortunately, we do not have those type of conversations. If it's something that we saw in the society, in the community, out there in the open, yes, everyone is free to let out their opinions. But once it comes now to the personal level, like, okay, what about you? How is it in your house? A lot of men will hold back to give that information because for me, I think it's a cultural thing for all of us. You know, you don't want to show this weakness no matter what. You don't want to show that you're facing challenges at home. You don't want to show that you are not man enough to be able to just put your foot down and handle the issues that come along. So a lot of people still hold back on those conversations, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a bit sad. But I understand. I mean, as much as we want a perfect world where people can just talk about their issues, our reality is, again, we are raised not to, like you said, the man is raised to be able to shoulder it and man up, and while the woman is raised to maybe confide in one or two people. So there's that difference there. But how do you think that could change? Or do you think that there's hope that could change? And if that changes, does it effeminize the men in any way, or do you think that the men will feel like it effeminizes them in any way?
I think the bigger fear we have when it comes to opening up to those type of personal situations at home, the bigger fear we have is about the people you're talking to. They could be immediate friends or family, but you're worried that, okay, you're my best friend, but I'm sure you have a best friend also somewhere else. So I do not know for a fact if this conversation is going to end just between me and you. You may feel compelled to tell this other person because they are your best friend too, but you don't know that that is my secret. You are divulging now. So what happens if this person also had another best friend? So a lot of people are worried about that image, like, I don't want to go out there like that, like the whole community knows this is what I'm facing in my house. So I'd rather bottle it all up and keep it inside. So that's what's happening. Is that fear, gossip, or someone is going to relay the information to somebody else, and that's not what I want. If you know for the fact that you have a trusted friend, I have some trusted friends who will talk about anything, and it stays right here. And I'm also confident from my end that whatever I talk about with them stays right with them also. So we are good on that level, but not everybody has that luxury of having someone like that. There's always somebody who wants to be happy to call another friend, man, I get gist, boy, I get you. And then they start throwing out your personal stuff out there. That's how it goes.
I think this is why we hold back, because we one another.
We do. Like I said again, remember when we started, we talked about unhealthy internal competition.
Yeah.
So that is something that's happening too with this situation. So you know the day you open up and let some secrets out about what you're facing at home, you've just made yourself super vulnerable, because now that person has a weapon against you. Someday they're gonna use it.
Okay, so how do we help ourselves? How do we help each other then? How do we help each other? I think I'm not asking you, I'm asking the community. If we're all that somebody is going to judge us, and we I think again, these are some of the weaknesses of the community that led to that murder suicide.
Yes.
Some of it, not all, but these are some of the weaknesses, because if he felt like he had a trusted community around him and people to talk to, maybe somebody would have talked sense into that man, and him and his wife will be here today to raise their kids, even if it's separately.
So I think we just need to care a little bit more than we do. We are so caught up in this hustle, this our daily hustle to make ends meet, that we do not care about the little things around us. We just need to care about each other a little bit more. So if I go back to my traditionalist thing again, it's about being there for each other. Take yourself back to the village for a second and picture a situation where you wake up in the morning and you're sweeping your yard, and you notice your neighbor is not up sweeping his or her yard as would have been the case daily. That right there automatically would have been a cause for concern. And you say, okay, neighbor's not out there, something might be wrong, let me go check. Right now in this we're the same people, same Africans, but in a modernized world.
Yeah.
What happens is you are sweeping that same yard, and now we are in this situation, you're mowing your lawn, and you notice your Cameroonian neighbor is not out mowing their own lawn like they would have been doing normally. Your thing is, probably he's off day today, so maybe he will sleep till 3 p.m. before doing it. Or hey, maybe he worked overtime. Or maybe so you find a reason to brush it off as a normal thing, even though you know technically it's not normal. One thing we all need to take with us tonight is the fact that every human being operates off patterns. We have patterns, all of us. No matter what you're doing, you cannot shake it. We have a pattern, and that's what we follow. So once you notice your friend is not doing the things that they will normally be doing, right there, you don't even need for someone else to come and tell you that, hey, something may be up. You yourself need to know something is up. If the pattern changes, even animals operate on pattern. The pattern cannot change.
And The echo. Can you guys hear the echo? It's really loud for me. Can you hear it, Cyril? Can you hear
echo? No, I can hear your echo though. Yeah, I can hear your echo.
Because it's really loud when I try to speak. So I like that, and I like that which somebody said down here, be each other's keeper. And I think which I'm going to take again from that conversation, where that part of the conversation where you were saying that our African, I think it's Patrick, and you added to that, our African functionality. We are man, we're woman, children, we are a community. We look after each other. And the example you were giving of back in the days when families went and worked on somebody's farm, and the next minute, I think we need to, which is what I was saying, that how do we balance that? We've come from that culture and we've come to this selfish society where it's each to their own. How do we balance that so that we continue to emulate other cultures that have found a way to balance that and leave that, like the Jews, like the Asian communities who are still very much communal? How do we live this selfish way of life that we have been so quick to adopt, and begin to be a bit more community centered, and which is what you said, and which is what Judith is saying. Be each other's keeper. We all have patterns. Don't be afraid that they will say you the pork nose. This girl too pork nose. She wants to know everything. This man wants to know everything. No, you can be selfless in that, because you know your true intention is that you just care. Because we have to start there and ignore the naysayers and the people and the distractors and the people who will try to discourage us. And if a few of us continue pushing, I am sure we will find allies along the way that will push, and we will rebuild that community spirit that we know of from where we come from, right?
That is true. The selfishness, unfortunately, has infected all of us. And that is where we are sitting right now. You know, everyone is only worried and only thinking about themselves first before anything else. And unfortunately, the trust is not there anymore. So if all of a sudden, I mean, but if you're my close friend, I already know you're my close friend. So it wouldn't be a stranger trying to come have a conversation with me about some of my personal details. Because if a stranger, if like an acquaintance does that, even if his or her intentions were pure, automatically I put up my defense, like, okay, something is up. You must be prying right now because you want to go use it somewhere. You want to have a tool to take, yes, you know, but I would say the people in your immediate surrounding, your cycle, they should be able to do these things, just care a little bit more. And we also need to open up to trust a little bit more, especially for the fact that the African man is like the biggest enemy to going for any kind of checkup in the hospital. We all said, man, I'm fine, leave me alone. I'm not doing that stuff. The African man is the biggest enemy to that. I don't know if it's a macho thing or we just feel like we are Superman. There's no way that little thing can bother me. I'm fine. I'll be fine. We feel pain sometimes, physical pain in here, in there somewhere, and he said, I'll sleep it off. It will go away after a couple of days. That is the kind of people we are, and unfortunately, it's affecting us in proportional levels right now that we cannot even fix. So I feel like we just need to care a little bit more and come to realize that if you really love life, if you really love living and enjoying and everything, if you have a problem or if you can start telling there's an issue coming somewhere down the line by yourself, you should have the care enough for your own self and for your own loved ones to try to seek for help or some sort of consultation to make sure that everything is okay.
I love that. I really do. I'm going to go back to what Washington John says. He says trust circles are very important to create. And I think that our men desperately need trust circles, and women. A few of us are lucky to perhaps circles of trust, but I think that that is something that we need to, especially with these alumni associations, we need to find a way to create such within this alumni so that we begin to help each other, because we are all going through one form of stress or or the other, and it is very important that we talk it out.
But there are big troubles with alumni associations, so you gotta remember when we were in school how it was. So now we are all in this alumni, but I remember I have beef with you all the way back from when we were in school. So we come into alumni already with competition, no matter what. That senior did this to me, so there's no way I want to even be at the same level. So I don't know. I don't know if I would say alumni should be the way to go, because everyone in there is already competing with everyone else based on how their days in school were.
Competing or not, it is the way to go, because that's when you get this gathering of men. You understand? And this is where you get this gathering of women, or this is where you get this gathering of people. So within those people, find the safe people and create that. Or you can create it within your family circle, or you can create it within your work colleagues, but create that. And I just think that because alumni are such a big deal within our communities, why don't we take advantage of that and to create that circle of trust? We should really think about it and open our minds, because if somebody is carrying beef from 1900 to this present time, the person needs help. That's a mental issue. So Mabia says, to help the men talk in these groups, would setting ground rules not help? Starting with the importance of confidentiality. Exactly that. That's how we build these circles of trust. Set some ground rules, especially around confidentiality, and make some really tough punishments if people do not adhere to them. Judith says, yes, I agree with you on that. The challenge is finding a safe space to talk. But for me, what has worked is talking to a counselor who doesn't know you. Again, which is what the cognitive psychologist we had on Wednesday said. If you don't have a mentor, you don't have a mentor, an older person in your church, find a counselor, find a therapist, find somebody that you can talk to. But talk therapy is so important. It is so important for our mental state. I'm reading the comments, so just bear with me. Mimi says our men need to drop their guards down and stop worrying about what others think. Mabi says we need to have more conversations like these to educate ourselves and begin the journey of change. I'm missing some. Oh gosh, sorry. So many. I'm going to miss some people's own, so please don't be upset. Mimi again says we must learn how to seek help when needed. And Tessie says, very good advice there, Cyril. I don't know if you can remember the advice. And then Don says, we need as men to break that macho attitude. Lee says, you're invincible. That's it. I think that's to the fact that they don't go to hospital.
And yeah, it's pretty tricky, because talking about going to a counselor, the question is, I've had more than 100 men make this statement. So you telling me I should go tell a stranger all my problems? That's how it goes. That's how it goes. And right there, that is already a sign that that particular man is not going to do that thing any day, anytime. You see. So I put the burden on everybody's closest friends. I put the burden on them because we all know each other, we know ourselves, we know our friends. If we keep in mind that truly everybody operates off patterns, then we can be there in time to save our brothers, to anytime save our sisters when we see it. Okay, so let's talk about patterns for a second. As a guy group, this is what we do. Okay, look at social media. Let me try with the women for now on social media. All of you already know friends, or maybe it's even yourselves. You know that you do a status update daily on Facebook and maybe WhatsApp. So that's your pattern. So if you wake up in the morning and if you don't even have a story, you're like, man, I'm going to look at it because I need to do this status update. So that's a pattern. Now, your closest friends should be able to notice if on Monday you didn't do one and on Tuesday you did not do it. Immediately, that's a sign. That's something right there. It doesn't matter, you may be busy. I'd rather they call you to find out, oh, you're just busy, as opposed to brushing it off like, hey, maybe she is busy. You see, so that's the difference. So me personally, right now, I'm putting the burden on close friends and family. We all have these patterns. As guys, when it's Friday, I know by 5 o'clock, we're all getting out the office. It's the time we go hang out at this little spot to just eat something before going home. If your friend does not do it one Friday when you know he will have been there, wait and see what happens by Saturday. If this friend does not reach out to you to just say, hey, how was yesterday? And if they do not, that is an issue you need to check on. You need to check up on them right away. Like, what just happened? You did not show up yesterday, and you knew that we were supposed to be there for A, B, C, D, E. You know, so I will really put the burden on friends and family who are close to the individual. Like, if we talk about the situation in, I don't like to talk about the situation in Ohio, but I'm certain that there were people who saw changes. There were definitely friends who had seen changes way down the line, but it just looked normal because we are all busy. We all have something to do anyway. So, hey, maybe he's going, let me go do my own stuff. It's okay. I'm definitely sure there were people who saw changes, but they did not act up on them.
Okay. That's very practical. That's very practical advice. So it's still echoing. I'm sorry, guys. Anna says I'm a life coach. So if you want to reach out to Anna. Mabi Abuna says I studied counseling. I can listen. If you need to talk, I will listen. Inbox me or DM me. I can vouch for Mabi. She's a very good listener. So if you need to talk, hey, anonymously, that's someone you can reach out to via Facebook and talk to. Washington Don says there's an illusion that being compassionate and empathetic as a man, you are weak. Yep, there is. But he's agreeing with you. Very correct, Sankara. I like that. Thank you. Honestly, thank everyone. And I know we've gone above and beyond, but our normal time. And Cyril, thank you for staying. But we're not done, because I want to ask you something as a man. Again, which on Wednesday we talked about emotions things. I want you to name, and I know you're not married, but I'm sure you have a relationship. So I'm asking, what are some of those things? And I want you to speak for men so that us, the women, we can learn from this. What are some of those things that women do that truly, I'll start with, bother the men, like truly bother the men, but they don't think they can talk about, because again, that macho manhood has to be preserved? What are some of those things that we do unconsciously that truly hurt your feelings, but don't bother you, but you can't talk about, because obviously, again, you have to keep that man exterior? What are some of those things? And Bate is here. Washington, it's Washington Dawn. I want you guys to please contribute to this, because this is the woman experience. We talk about issues that affect the woman, and every time we have a man, we really try to see life through the man's lens. So please, I need, if you're a man watching this and maybe you're not next to your phone, here's the time to grab your phone and share with your sisters, so that we can make this home and our lives generally a better place. So go on, Cyril.
I would say that as time goes by, there have been so many alternative schools of thought that have been introduced to all of us and has put us in positions where right now a lot of men, same like a lot of women, are actually living a different persona from who they truly may have been, because they're following, we get influence everywhere we go. We get influence from society, influence from pop stars, influence from social public figures, but we don't act like it, but these are the places where we get our influence from. So I believe that a lot of people right now, both men and women, are living lifestyles that really should not have been there, but it seems like this is what makes sense. So in that case, what I'm saying is simple things that a man could be going through. If you are in this relationship, to be there for each other. And one thing we need the most is understanding. What I have a lot of understanding for. I watch couples every day. For me, that's my own fun. I take my time to observe, and you can see that communication is not number one. Everybody has their own little things. They carry small beef, the vex for morning time because of some little issue, but you don't know that that woman is going through a lot of stuff also that you may not even know about, and the man is also going through his own little stuff that you do not know about. But because you have made up your mind about something you want to attack him about, there's gonna be a day he comes home and you don't care what he has just experienced from the streets or wherever, you are only focused on the thing that we needed to talk about this thing. I don't care. So I feel like understanding is one thing that women do not show enough, because you may actually see your man's mood in one day and know that this is not the right time to bring up that topic. Let me just let it go for now. But some women, when they are fixated on the fact that this is a conversation, I'm waiting for him, let it get home. Watch those Nigerian movies now. You see, they actually stamp the leg on the ground, like, let him get home today. And then he comes home, you don't even know what has just happened. You decide you want to have that conversation. So those are some of the things that will actually make a man basically act out of his character for a minute, just because after enduring whatever he has just endured, he did not expect to come and continue right at home. I feel like when we say these things, we cannot stress enough on the fact that the love, encouragement, support, be supportive no matter what it is, especially for a man who is struggling to find his feet. He believes his partner should be everything. The wife or girlfriend should be his sanctuary when he's struggling to find his feet, But then, if for some reason she has something that has triggered her, well, basically what I'm saying is women just give the guys a little bit more of a break, you see. It doesn't matter if you know that what you want to attack them about, they are actually wrong. Take your time, just watch. Take your time and just watch his attitude for the day and make the determination that that is a good day to have that conversation. You can see it. Feed the man first. Feed him. If he ate that food, laughing and be like, "Wow, this is some good food." Wait, don't wait. If you see him like, "This is some good food," you know you've got him. That's a good day to grab his neck and tell him that thing you wanted to talk about. Don't instead wait on the day he comes home and he cannot. He's just looking like, "You want to eat? No, I'm fine," and he goes straight to bed. Of course, you know that's an issue. But then you follow him into the room like, "Okay, now let's talk." But come on now.
Okay, hold that thought. Hold that thought, because I'm going to throw this question to the women. Liz is laughing at you. Mimi says understanding is easy to achieve if the woman knows your thoughts and what you're going through, which is very cool. I think all of this. Don says have conversations should be had, not court sessions in relationships on both sides.
Both sides, yes.
Again says, how do you support someone with an issue if you don't know what the issue is exactly? So come answer.
How are you not supposed to know the issue is if it's your partner and you both are in the same house? How's that possible?
They don't communicate.
It means that's not the day it started then. If that's the case, it means that's not the day it started then. But you see, that's where for me, you have so much power. And that's my issue. Sometimes it's part of my own trouble. Sometimes, like, if the Black woman can realize how much power she has, it would be snap of the finger to make magic happen. You see, so use your feminine energy to captivate this man when you need to. When you see him downcasted and depressed and all, use your feminine energy to turn him right around. Yes.
What is stopping men and all the other men who are watching? Why can't you just communicate? If you've had a really bad day at home, what stops you from coming home and say, babe, man, it was really, really bad day today? Why is that so hard?
Some men do that, but not all. The average man, always, we think about the fact that we are providers. We want to be providers. So there's almost like a race for perfection. Like you must arrive at this place and be able to do all of these things. So part of the feeling and the disappointment we feel for ourselves is if you need to go home daily for like a week and keep telling your significant other that not today, I did not succeed to get that thing done today, or that money that we need for this rent or whatever. Yes, even today I did not. When we feel like we have to do that 5 days in a row, trust me, that is where the man starts feeling himself like a failure. That's a problem, because now all of a sudden he even starts thinking about, does she even value me anymore? This is 5 days straight that I promised and I cannot meet up to what I promised. Now we start worrying, does she value me anymore at all? I'm a failure. I cannot. Now so what I'm saying is, the woman, that is the time, by the third day that this guy comes back and tells you, I did not succeed to still get that little thing done, that woman now, how much she values this person and the relationship and everything else, and how much of a nurturing and caring person she is, that's the moment she would try to redirect him and reassure him it is well.
Hold
You're
that
doing your
thought.
best. Yes.
Hold that thought.
Mhm.
I agree with Mimi 100%. Do you guys, men who are watching, men in the world, do you realize that women nowadays, not just in the Western world, women have to work, take care of the home, take care of the children, take care of you and everything else, in addition to trying to literally pull teeth by getting you to express yourself emotionally? Do you guys, are men aware of that? And I'm asking all the men. I just say you're here. I'm asking all the men. Are men aware of this? Do you guys realize how much pressure we are under to even devote time to you?
Perhaps not every man realizes that.
Washington,
But like Washington Don says, men don't like being vulnerable. Yeah, we don't. That's a trait we do not like to portray. And really, trust me, it's not out of the fact that it's gonna make you look at me any less. It's a personal thing that I don't want to feel like I am not good enough to be able to take care of you. So that's what it is mostly. It's not even about how you will perceive me after that. It's me personally feeling like I have failed. This is my duty as a man in this situation, and I cannot even pull that off. I have failed. So sometimes it even has nothing to do with the woman in question.
Okay, so men, maybe take this to the other men or to the rest of the world or to all the other African or Cameroonian men. Just tell us, yeah. We are not witches, or we don't we cannot read your mind if you do not tell us. And we are facing our own daily struggles as well, just like you. And so you trying to keep that macho attitude in these times is not helping us. Because again, this is that problem, right? We've left from a communal society to a selfish society. So it's usually just us. So before we get back to that communal society, it's you and I. So men, take it back to the brotherhood for us, please. Look, you guys need to pay attention and learn to communicate.
Okay, a question for the women. Can you women also admit, for the sake of this conversation, can you admit also that there are truly a lot of internal competition among women for whatever reasons we may not know? And for some, because of that, the fact that women have their own competition going on with each other, because of that, some of them bring it into their marital homes. And the easiest target they can find to let out their frustrations on is their men. Perhaps I can even let me do something real petty. A petty example would be because you're in competition with that other woman next door or in your alumni, but you can see how much she's excelling because of what she and her spouse or family have going on. You can see how much they excel, but then your own is like, it's not happening. And the reason you think it's not happening is because your man has not been able to provide at the level of her man, providing for her and her family. So can you admit that some women will bring that now into your marital home and start berating this guy daily because you think he needs to push himself a little bit more to attain the level of your competition's husband?
It's possible. It's possible it happens. But what we're saying is, and I know yes, it happens. It does happen. But again, I guess that's why we're having these conversations, isn't it? But we will have a separate show for this. We will have a separate show for we'll bring a relationship coach and and talk about these issues in more depth. But I really just want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone for staying on. Quite a lot of you have stayed on for 2 hours, and my goodness, we didn't think we'll stay this long. So I'm sure you must have found it interesting in one way or the other. But what we were trying to do again for Andine and a few people who are just joining us right now, what we've been trying to do in this conversation is when we talk mental health, we ignore the very little things, the everyday stresses that we face in life. And so what we're trying to do is just touch on those little things that create that stress and may create those negative thoughts that will build to something that hopefully we don't want it to build to. We don't want it to get to that level of psychosis. So this is all we're trying to do here today. And I hope no woman felt attacked, because even though I have my Western hair and we had that long hair conversation, I don't feel attacked. I learned a lot as well. I just learned to actually think about it, because like you said, a lot of the times we just do the things we do not think about because it's what we saw. Everyone's doing it. Why shouldn't I do it? And we make up all these excuses as well for why we do the things we do. But we should understand that all of these things play with our psyche in one way or the other, either positively or negatively, from the way we see ourselves to our self-worth, from the way it filters down to how we raise our children, filters down to how we deal with our significant others. All of this affects us and begins to create that potential bomb up here. So that's why we had this conversation, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you guys did. And Cyril, of course, you were fantastic. So any final word on what we've talked? There was so much we have to talk about. We have to talk about religion, which is something that he's very and Del, I saw your comments on religion. I chose to ignore them because I was hoping I will have time to actually talk about it. But we are going to talk about that again, and I'll invite you. We didn't get to talk about religion, which is, but we will. And any last words? I really appreciate you for being so giving and so forthcoming with your answers. So thank you.
There can always be room for part 2, part 3, part 4 if necessary.
See, okay. That you said, right? We're
okay. So basically, what I can say for a final word is, for me, I think what is key is we need to learn to go back to our traditional ways of being each other's keepers. That's how we survive, especially in the diaspora, like we are all in right now. That's even back home. That's the only way to survive. Be a community again. Yeah. Now, remember and always understand, everyone operates off patterns. So if your friends' patterns start changing, something is wrong, even though they're not telling you. So even if you ask them and they say nothing is wrong, know that something is wrong, because a pattern is basically habit. It's not easy to let go all of a sudden. Even if let's say you switch jobs right now, it will take probably like a week or 2 for you to get back to your routine again. You see, so if the pattern changes and you call and you find out and they say, oh, I just switched my job, so you know, okay, I'll give you a couple of days to adjust into your new environment and you'll be back to yourself again. So if the pattern changes, know that something is wrong. Be that inquisitive person, be that pork-nosed friend to check in on them, find out what's going on, why they're not doing what they normally do on the daily basis. In that way, we can save a lot of situations before they escalate into something else. And there's no shame, to me, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in trying to have a conversation. There's no shame in, for the men need to realize there's no shame in opening up to certain things. But also, I also understand that some of their hesitation comes with the fact too that they do not know if there are ulterior motives involved with the woman they're trying to confide in. That's why a lot of men would rather confide in their guy friends, you know? So even those guy friends, they need to be a little bit more, take a little bit more initiative in each other's lives. When they notice something is up, they have to step in and a stitch in time, you know? Same thing for the women also. Try to, if you confide only in your women friend, the friends need to try to be a little bit more interactive in your lives to catch certain things before they escalate. Because trust me, like you know, we all know, we are all holding in a lot of stuff daily. We're bottling up a lot of stuff. Someday it's gonna explode. We can catch them in time. You know, therapy is super good, but not everyone believes in therapy. So let's find our own ways of doing it without needing to be a professional therapist. You see, so because when you tell someone to go to a counselor, that's what they're thinking. I'm gonna go disclose my secrets to a stranger. Okay, you be that person's counselor, because we all have that ability of understanding. If you can listen, you can understand, you probably can have advice, especially if you see them, you notice that they are getting depressed more and more daily. As soon as you have that fear that this guy is heading to a bad place in life, definitely all of us can be their therapist immediately without even needing to think about it. You know, so I just think we need to be a little bit more interactive in each other's lives and try to be more observant. The guys who are bottling up and shutting off every door, not letting people in, need to just open up a little bit more. Women need to be a little bit more tolerant of their men's shortcomings, because a lot of our frustration comes from that. You know, if we cannot even satisfy you, then we don't even have the right to even call ourselves men anymore. So just fool them if you have to, fool them that you understand, give them a little bit more tolerance, let them at least feel like they have someone that really understands who they are and their struggles. So basically, that would be my final advice.
And ladies, we haven't forgotten about our conversation is Wednesday, yeah, where we are going to have this conversation, similar conversation, but from another woman's point of view, and again, hearing your voices. So it's quite a few people. Mas, hello, Mabel. You guys are a bit late. You joined us at the end, but after this conversation, I'll upload it on YouTube and it's going to be on Facebook. So it really is worth your while. You should listening. But thank you. Brilliant. Duchess Maureen says, brilliant discussions, one of the best so far. Yay. Everyone clap for yourself. She's a fan. Jill says, I'll pass on religion. Many feelings might be hurt. Again, it's like the head thing, right? A few of us were hurt, but it's a conversation that needs to be had.
That is healing. That is a healing process.
Yes.
True. Yes. If you cannot take that help, then there's no way you will be willing to make any changes. That is part of the healing. Unfortunately, we have to handle it.
Yeah. Lee says, great job, Cyril. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm thanking her on your behalf. Oh, Mabby, thank you. She says, I like your selection of guests. Very knowledgeable. Bravo. Hey, this is the African Renaissance man here. So we would have a brilliant conversation. So thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to read some comments and say thank you.
Okay.
After staying out of your country for many years, amalgamation is very certain to occur. I don't know how much of our cultural values can be sustained. Yeah, that's another fight that we have in our hands. And that's something that we have to really address. Because a lot of us are slowly losing our cultures, whether we like it or not. And in a few years, I really see that.
All of it can be maintained if we want.
Or it can be
yes, if we want. Yes.
If we are conscious of it, we can. Again, Mimi's point is men, get help. Men, get help. Get help. Talk to somebody. Stop killing powerful women. Get help. Get help. That's she hasn't changed her stance. It's been that from the beginning of the conversation. Men, get help. Men, get help. So men, just try find the ways, like Cyril has advised you, to talk. Good job, Sankara from Bati. And on that note, Cyril, I'm just gonna thank you very much for your time today, taking time off work. I appreciate that, and I'm sure we all do appreciate that. So if you want to say final to your guests, and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone who showed up, who tuned in to the conversation, and already you're doing a fantastic job. So now I'm gonna beat everyone to be your #1 fan.
Yay. That's good to hear. Please share, guys. If there's anything here that you've learned, share. Because we have some really, while you're here, let me just say, my regulars, my day ones, my communities, you girls are amazing, Bate included, and you are amazing. You're here. It doesn't matter the conversation, whether if there is no network, you're just here to support. That, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I said that a few episodes ago. I almost cried, but you know it. I thank you, and I thank you. Now let's get the word out. Let's keep sharing so more people come and heal. Because all we're trying to create here again is a judgment-free, positive and learning experience. That's all we're trying to do here. And there's so many conversations that our community needs to have that they're not having, and we're hoping that we can have them here. And consider this place our safe space, right?
Yes.
So thank you, Cyril, and just stay backstage while I say goodnight to our guests.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye, folks.
Bye. Oh, Cyril, you can hear me. Mimi says, I love the background, Cyril. Very motherland. Very good. Guys, oh, wow, this was great. This was very great. So thank you. Thank you. I'm seeing you on Wednesday. And I hope no woman felt attacked here, because we're trying to see these things from a man's point of view. On Wednesday, we continue with women. Let's try and see these our mental struggles from a woman's point of view, and from you guys as well. So thank you so much. Please invite more people to the show. We're talking mental health. And I do understand how broad the topic is, but I like to be practical in everything I do. My approach to life is very practical, and so I am. That's why I'm choosing to do it this way. I thank all those doctors, especially from the United States, who have contacted me and want to be on the show to contribute to this. After these 4 episodes are done, we'll take a short break, and then we'll do another panel, because so many people have reached out, so many professionals have reached out to me. They really liked the first episode and they really wanted to contribute, and I'm sure they'll love this one as well. So we're going to do it again, because again, like I said, this is a safe space for us to have these conversations, and I'm just glad that you're tuning in. I'm not going to stop begging you, like the Goretti Experience page, please. I have over 3,000 friends and I have over 1,000 likes, so please like it. And after every show, I upload it on the Goretti Experience page on YouTube. So if your family member is not on Facebook, please go take the YouTube link and share, and subscribe to the YouTube page, because we're working on a lot of stuff that we're hopefully going to continue entertaining you with. You know, I'm a filmmaker, right? Oh, I forgot, Cyril, we forgot to tell you that Cyril is a filmmaker, and his movie, The Game, is showing on Amazon Prime. Actually, that movie, he was the first Cameroonian to ever put a movie on Amazon Prime, so we have to give him his yeah. So his movie, The Game, is showing on Amazon Prime. So please, I think it was it shot in Cameroon? So please, guys, go and watch that, and let's support Cyril and a fellow filmmaker. Thank you, and we will see you Wednesday with Miss Mag, you all know as Maria Banga, and we're going to be talking mental health, but this time from a woman's perspective. So bon weekend, and I'll see you Wednesday, and thank you.